Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. I hope you guys won money on bets about Savitar. We gotta talk all about this reveal, what it means, and how they changed the comics. Just careful for spoilers if you haven't seen it yet. The really cool thing about the reveal too is that it almost raises more questions than it answers, which is the mark of a good twist. So congratulations if you guessed it right. If not, it's not that big a deal. There was a lot of evidence for different characters, but towards the end, more and more as we got closer and closer to this actual reveal, just the way they were marketing things, the foreshadowing and the metaphors and characters' dialogue, the plot lines just started to point towards Barry being the villain of the season, the way the Reverse Flash talked about it at the very beginning. So you see how it circles back around, and now somewhere in the Speed Force, where he's kind of dead, kind of not dead, the Reverse Flash is chuckling to himself, haha, I'm right, Flash, you're the villain. But there's a new round of the Flash Ring giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber, leave a comment on this video. So let's do top 10 WTF comic book Easter eggs. Obviously, he's the future Flash. Based on the setup here, what they're doing is they're crossing this seminal Mark Waid Flash story, Terminal Velocity, which was a Wally West story, with the future Flash story from the New 52 comics. So I will explain those two different comic book stories as we go along. But thematically, they're very true to that original future version of Barry from 20 plus years in the future. So that's how much older the comic book version of Barry is. But number 10, meet Tracy Brand, Speed Force PhD candidate. So I love the meet cute that they have. They go in and she's burning all her research. I'm trash, I'm garbage, I failed my PhD dissertation. So it's just a way to show you how like this future person who designs this amazing trap that allows them to keep Savitar in the Speed Force is nowhere close to being that person. She's getting ready to hop a bus to go for a job interview at Big Belly Burger. And there's some awkward comedy with HR's character. They're sort of teasing a future relationship with those characters. So he says like funny sayings from Earth 19, turning tubers into finger chips, Norbert, Einstein. Just a funny way to introduce the character, and you can see the energy that she brings is a lot of what's missing now that Caitlin is full-blown Killer Frost, although there is hope that they'll bring her back. But it just sounds like, unless there's a big twist in the finale, that Tracy's place on the team is going to be more permanent in the future. And even though they're coming on a little hard and fast with that HR relationship stuff, I feel like she'll be a good fit. But she's not a character from the comics, she's an original creation of the show. In number 9, she explains her research. She's been studying extra-dimensional energy. She's basically studying the Speed Force, although there isn't a name for it in present-day science. The cool thing about this is that in the far future, Eobard Thawne, Professor Zoom, he was basically studying the exact same thing that Tracy Brand is studying now. Because in the future, where Eobard Thawne is from, there are no more Flashes. Barry Allen's been dead for a long time. The Speed Force doesn't exist, but they study it like this mythical extra-dimensional energy field. So that kind of gets into Eobard Thawne's origin story. We don't need to talk about that because it's not necessarily connected to this, but his students call him Professor Zoom because he's so smart about the Flash. He's a professor of Flash studies in the Speed Force, so it's just kind of a funny coincidence. But number 8, Killer Frost rolls in her Louise Lincoln looking costume. So the pendant is very Louise Lincoln, but it's kind of blended with the new version of Killer Frost, Caitlin Snow's costume during Rebirth. And even though they don't do a lot of the latest comic book stuff, Caitlin Snow is a good character, even though technically she's a villain, working on Batman's new Justice League with Lobo. So there is a version of Killer Frost in the comics right now that is bad, but is doing good things. So it's a bit of a hat tip for the future of Caitlin Snow's character. But this is really just a tee-up for the conflict that she has with Cisco, and him being afraid to kill his friend, just showing you that there's still a chance that she could come back from darkness. And then number 7, the secret coffee menu. This was so funny. So Tracy Brand's favorite coffee, it's on the secret menu, is a Zoom. So like they have the Flash coffee, that was a big thing during season 2. But now the secret coffee menu is just a rogues gallery of Easter eggs for other Flash villains. So we have Zoom. Maybe in season 4, Savitar will make it onto the secret coffee menu. Who knows how many shots of espresso will be in that. The Zoom coffee just had like an extra shot of espresso over the normal Flash coffee, which already had crazy caffeine in it compared to normal coffee. So it's just like, as you go up the speedster ladder, it gets more and more caffeinated, so you just get crazier and crazier. But number 6, this is so much fun. The Flash versus Caitlin, and she goes full Iceman. So if you haven't read the older Flash comics in a while, this actually looks a little bit like Louise Lincoln's powers from the comics. Not every version of Killer Frost has been able to do this, use the ice trails to travel around through midair, but it's really badass, and I really want to go to that theme park some days. So maybe Warner Brothers will build a Flash roller coaster at some point. but she has mad skills, and she remembers their last fight, so she gets Flash in the same spot where she got him before. So just a way of showing you that she is a credible threat to the Flash. Even though he's more powerful, she can still go toe-to-toe with him for at least a little while if he has all his wits about him, which he does not right now. But number 5, welcome to Team Flash Tracy. So they have this really funny moment where she gets all jazzed up learning about her future. Wait a minute, you're telling me I'm like Sarah Connor in Terminator? No, you're more like Miles Dyson. And it did not end well for Miles Dyson. So I don't think that implies that she's gonna die at the end of this season, but it is really cool to see that she can go toe-to-toe with Cisco and pop culture movie references. So it's just a subtle way of showing you that she totally fits in on this team. She has this real insatiable curiosity for the science of the Flash. How do you run so fast and counteract that static charge? Cisco has fun talking to her about the science of how the suit works, so it just gives her some of the ideas that play in later to how she's going to build the trap for Savitar. But number 4, Barry has the really important speech that sort of circles back around to the end of the episode and helps him realize who Savitar is. It's all about love, Joe. If you don't have love, then what's worth fighting for? It is the only thing that matters in this world. So he's mostly talking about Iris, about his family. Joe's mostly on the fence with Cecile. Even though he loves her, he's just so afraid of what's going to happen if he brings her into Team Flash. So I'm just really happy to see Barry, for once, be the voice of reason. That was what was most important in this. I mean, it was a really nice speech. It was very touching. But Barry is starting to take charge in a way that he hasn't in the past. Usually other characters like Iris have to come in and give him that speech. Instead, now he is slowly becoming a more mature version of the character, and he's the one to give them the speech. Look, this is what it's all about. You guys need to chill. He's super zen about it. Number 3 was Cisco versus Caitlin. Because he got the bump from Julian, the bump to get over his fear of hurting Caitlin, he tags in after Barry goes down, and it winds up being a twist on the fight that he vibed back during episode 6, and the future Cisco told him where he lost his hands. So that was just like the culmination of that original fight. But this time, because of the Julian bump, he has the courage to take her down. And even though they get a DNA sample from her, Savitar runs in and says his ascension is nigh and then runs off with her. So for like the rest of the episode, they slowly start to put the clues together, and it really starts when Caitlin throws all of Barry's words back at him as if she knows exactly what he's going to say. So if you already weren't thinking it was Barry, I feel like this was the moment where most people are like, hey, wait a minute. If she's saying the exact same thing that Barry said and Savitar told her what Barry was going to say, there's some crazy connection with Barry. It's probably Barry. But number 2, back at Star Labs, Tracy Brand starts to build her Savitar trap. She's like, I have an idea. I've been studying speedsters. Savitar needs that suit to counteract the static charge. So if they can find a way to counteract the effects of the suit, they can trap him. So they're basically building something to harness the power of Savitar's suit and use it against him. But number 1, as Joe comes back after telling Cecile everything, they have this really positive moment where she's like, okay, I'm totally in on Team Flash. This is going to be awesome. So Joe and Cecile are going to be mom and dad for the rest of the series, however long they survive. But as they're talking about love being the most important thing, Barry starts to get the idea in his head, wait a minute, I just have one thing I need to figure out, and he runs off and he confronts Savitar. You know everything about us, you know how much we love each other because you were there when it happened. And sure enough, Savitar walks out of the costume, and it's like this scarred version of Barry. He has this big scar over one of his eyes. That's mostly to differentiate between the two versions, so you know who regular Barry is and you know who evil Barry is from the future. So I know you have a million questions about how far in the future he's from, but the other really big question, and a lot of the reason why people didn't think that it was Barry early on, because they're like, why would he kill Iris? I don't understand. Well, what's probably happening is that this version of Barry, like he has that speech with Killer Frost where he says, we can be free of the pain and suffering of this mortal existence. I can make your pain go away. All you have to do is kill Tracy Brand. So what Savitar is probably trying to do is bring about his creation through Barry's tragedy. So he wants to kill Iris so that Barry will go off the chain and eventually do things that will lead him to become Savitar. So it's not exactly a bootstrap paradox, but it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy whereby he has this origin moment, like the moment he starts to become Savitar or starts on the path to becoming Savitar. But the thing that we haven't got yet that hopefully they'll do in the next couple of episodes is where we get the why explainer from Future Barry. Why did you do all this? Why is it so important that you become Savitar? Why not fix things so that you can be in love with Iris and be a happy family? So what it seems like is happening is the Future Flash comic book storyline is a Barry from 20 plus years in the future who's got to this place in his life where most of his friends are dead and there are all kinds of fractures through the Speed Force. So it's almost like in Barry's pursuit of being a hero, doing good things, saving people, he's caused all these problems and things have gotten so bad that as a measure of last resort, he decides that he's going to go back and kill himself so he won't be able to cause all this damage in the future. So he's like, I'm going to fix everything by erasing myself from the timeline. So you can see that's not what's happening here because Savitar has not been trying to kill Barry. He's been trying to get Barry to turn into Savitar. So this is a little bit like the Wally West storyline where Mark Waid, so this is way back in the late 90s, before the Speed Force was created, they just said that the Flash ran fast and that's it. There was no Speed Force before Mark Waid came along. Then he came up with the idea to explain the Flash's powers as a function of this extra-dimensional energy source and wrote this story called Terminal Velocity, whereby Wally West, who was the main version of the Flash at the time, Barry Allen was dead. He wasn't part of the Flash comics. Wally West learns about the concept of the Speed Force in that as he gets more and more powerful and embraces his ability, he becomes more and more inhuman, and to achieve ultimate power, he'll have to leave all of his friends behind, which he does very briefly, but then he comes back. So it's the idea that embracing your full potential will mean leaving behind all the things that you love. So that's what Savitar is talking about when he talks about his ascension, achieving ultimate power, ultimate oneness with the Speed Force. So in order to do that, he has to stop Barry from changing the future and saving Iris West. If she lives, then he won't be able to become Savitar. But if you want to read that story, it's The Flash, Terminal Velocity. It's classic Mark Waid. It's a lot of fun. It actually happened before the Savitar arc in the comics, so they're mixing and matching a lot of things. Savitar in the comics is a completely different character, so we'll talk about comic book Savitar in some of my future bonus videos this week. But let me know in the comments, what kind of videos do you want me to do before next week's episode? Anything you want me to clarify specifically? But what's going to happen next is I'll post a trailer video for the next episode, and I'll address some of the biggest comments, the biggest questions in this video. And congratulations to the latest Flash Ring giveaway winner, Micah Bowers. Please private message me so I can get your contact details. There was a new round that started in this video. I'll announce the winner when I post that trailer video. While you wait for that, you can click here for more Savitar, and you can click here for the latest Defenders teaser. Somebody special is coming back from the dead. Thank you so much for watching. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.